Not all Palestinians are Hamas, but Hamas does represent them. And that is true. I told you before, they were popularly elected in 2006. Surveys in 2021 showed a landslide victory coming for them in the elections. And so the reason that the elections were postponed is because the ruling authority of the two territories determined that they didn't want Hamas to take over both territories. And there was, and probably is some truth to the geopolitical approach to keeping these two factions, whether it's Fatah or Hamas, kind of at each other's throats as to divide, to control. Because even everybody understands that when you divide people and you have different groups at each other's throats, you can control them. Can I just sidebar for a minute? This is what I don't get about the left. I hear the left say this all the time. Oh, well, Netanyahu wanted to give money and he wanted to support Hamas because that was a great way to keep the two territories under control because Hamas and Fatah were constantly at each other's throats. Do you not realize it's literally what you do here in the United States with identity politics? And you're too much of a dumbass to even know it. You literally do the same thing. You support the exact same tactics here in the United States to keep everybody at each other's throats so you can control the population better. Interesting. The left has no concept of irony. So they represent them because they were popularly elected. Numerous surveys had showed that they enjoy overwhelming support from Gazans. And so the idea earlier I was hearing two-state solution from Anthony Blinken. It's not gonna happen. Hamas is not an outlier. One of the things Tobin noted is that in the Federalist is that New York Magazine, all these other people, they try to argue that, well, they don't represent the people. Actually, they do. I mean, they ended up they were popularly elected. And they view their own civilian casualties as like an asset to them politically, as opposed to like a tragedy or an atrocity. I mean, that's just the way that they've always viewed it. They use their civilians as human shields. But yet, what gets me is that they've done this for decades, but that has not at all contributed to a groundswell of opposition towards them. Not at all. You have people who take to the streets to celebrate terror attacks against Israel, and not just in Gaza. You had tons of people in the streets in Gaza that celebrated. You had tons of people. We saw it. I mean, you saw the video. You can't deny what you see with your own eyes. You can't deny what's being reported. You can't deny what friends of yours who are traveling through Europe see in big cities that they're in. You can't deny it. And there were people who were cheering. There were cheers. When they came back after they attacked Israel. I mean, they gave them like a hero's welcome. Fatah is the more moderate party, and their leader Mahmoud Abbas is the president of the quote unquote Palestinian Authority, and they had this. They had the election in 2006. That was something that W had pushed. And Hamas they were so successful that Tobin notes too, that was sort of the impetus for their coup that kicked Fatah out of Gaza Strip. And that's when in 2005, Israel withdrew everything. They did everything possible to chase the peace that never comes. Because if Hamas wanted peace, you would have peace. They wanted Gaza. They got Gaza. That wasn't enough. It's not that they want Gaza. It's not that they want West Bank. It's not that they want their own place. They don't want Jews to exist. That is Hamas. And by the way, they have not been challenged for authority in Gaza. And that has just made them more radical and more violent. It's their position. I mean, and you can say Fatah is moderate and that Abbas might be more moderate than Hamas's leader, but they still do martyrs funds. That doesn't sound moderate to me. I mean, you're paying people's families that go and engage in suicide bombing and else. They get pensions for life. That's weird. That's weird to me. That's not moderate. Now, they're in a geopolitical situation like this, you have to realize that at some point you have to eliminate the threat. And that's why they've been warning for people to get out of the way, people to leave. Although Hamas, they need them there, so they've been blocking the roads, etc. But Hamas has to be entirely struck off the face of the earth. Otherwise, this is never going to end. and it's going to end up costing more lives. It's going to end up going on and on and on. It has to end. However, it has to end. It's sort of like how we were looking at Japan in the 40s. This has to end, and you can't pretend that people who voted for a ruling authority aren't supportive of the ruling authority. That's not to say that every single person voted for them, but we are far beyond, I think, decades past prolonging things to take all of this into consideration. And that is not a choice that Israel has made. That's not a choice that you've made or anyone in the United States. It's a choice that Hamas made. And it's a choice that all of the countries that have been holding Israel back this entire time have enabled it to make. Let's be honest about that.